Welcome to another episode of Behind the Pixel. I'm your host, Joe. There's a common theme developing in these interviews. The artists that have been around for about a year all seem to point to one thing being important: community. Through bear markets, projects failing, and bubbles popping, they all say the same thing: the community is what will survive. Joe Chiappetta has been around for a while. He's seen everything, been a part of everything, founded projects, moved to other projects. It seems everything I mention he has been involved with, heard about, or has a thought on. He's an elder statesman with the wisdom to survive anything thrown his way. And the highest compliment I can give him, I feel, is that his art is secondary to what he is giving to the NFT communities. He is taking the knowledge and experiences he has had and using his creative energy to show others the way, to gain an audience and lift others up. Yes, Joe loves art, loves drawing, loves creating, but his love for others is possibly his greatest gift. Yeah. So you have been in this space for a while, but you are someone that we should look to for, guidance, wisdom, and things like that. And that's kind of what you're doing with Art Vending Machine, correct?
Yes, exactly. I'm doing that because I think people can use. I know. Early on in my career, in the 80s and 90s, I had a lot of people show me the way and point out things, and so this is. I really been wanting to give back for a long time, and this is a great way to do it.
Yeah, and you're in a position to do it. You've been in the crypto art scene for, I've only been in for like 3 or 4 months now. You've been in for 3 or 4 years. Is that math right?
Probably a little longer. I've been in crypto art maybe since 2014 or 15. So just doing uh, just doing drawings, cartoons about Ethereum, about funny things about Bitcoin, and this was before. I think at that same time, concurrent, there was some experimentation with the NFT space, but it wasn't called that. It was called a variety of things. So obviously, as soon as the crypto artists heard about this, folks like myself and many others, and there was all at varying points, because a bunch of people were doing crypto art about cryptocurrency, which is the definition of crypto art. Once they realized that they too could issue art on the blockchain, then nobody had to twist your arm to do that. So people got in at different times to do that, and it's just been exciting to see people continue to come in from all over the place now.
That's actually an interesting point that I didn't really know about. That crypto art was traditionally art about cryptocurrency, and then NFTs came along, and people were still using crypto art to describe it in the same sense. However, now it's almost as if the original moniker of crypto art has been eradicated now.
Yeah, well, it the terms the terms are still shifting and getting modified and things like that. So it wouldn't surprise me if they change a few more times. It's and sometimes there's little wars, and I had this is like a repeat of what happened with comics. So there's like debate. Well, is a cartoon, is a one panel cartoon a comic? And I actually had that recent. People were wondering about that because I did an early cartoon on Ethereum that somebody thought it was the first comic on Ethereum, and maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But then it brought up an old debate. Well, what is a cartoon, a comic? And then when you had the internet come alive, you had well, let's call it, if they're comics on the internet, let's call them web comics. And that actually got a lot of support and things like that. And it just could, now the web comic term is kind of dying down, and it's going to change, but it's basically art. That's the bottom line. Like, take away the tech, because nobody's talking today about how cool checks are. Hey, I can write you a check. This is incredible. It's going to change the world. But really, that's when people get excited about NFTs, because it does increase some access and things. But take away all that, and I think people need to start talking more about the content of what they're sharing, the token that's actually tied to the art. So let's talk about the art too, because without the art, we're just kind of, where's the value?
Right. Yeah, nobody seems to care anymore about whether it's debit or credit cards. Like, you mean I have a card tied to my bank account? It's going to change everything. Now no one cares. It's the same thing.
Just give me the money and let's move on.
But yeah, I do. It's been interesting because this is the first time that, like I said, I've only been in this space for a few months, but it's interesting now to see, now that people aren't, making money hand over fist and just like anything they put up there is selling right away. Now it's starting to stress people out a little bit, it seems, and people are starting to get a little more frustrated and get bogged down by those, almost like tribal things about cryptocurrency. But now it's transferred into the NFT space as well too. Is that something that has always been here? Is this brand new, or is it just me being inexperienced?
No, it's always been there. People are people, and they're going to want to fight for what they're loyal to. And some are loyal to one coin over another. Some are loyal to the concept that they're all going to work. And there's going to be a variety of solutions. And so only God knows the future. So I think it's best to stay out of most of that and just go with what works, and talk more about the content of the art. And that's really that's what's going to have staying power, because some of these conversations people are having today are going to seem really strange and petty in just a few years. Like, wait, why were we arguing about this and that? It's so, yeah. But to me, it's just like, hey, like one of the artists in Art Vending Machine, in this, we're doing series 2 of Art Vending Machine, and one of the artists, just right now we're in the process of restocking the Art Vending Machine with new art. And one of the artists just today added to the collection this incredible piece about a mother and daughter, and it's animated and it shows the similarities, and there's things like inside, like little like bloodlines. It's very, very beautiful the way it's drawn, little connecting network lines, and it's very flowery, and it's a great mother and daughter piece. And like, I want to talk about that. I don't care whether Ethereum is up or Wax is up, and it's just, I understand that some people have to talk about that. That's their business, but this is fine art, and that's that's what we talk. We talk about the actual art, and it's exciting. Like my daughter, well, I actually have all my kids are in the project. My oldest daughter just today posted a piece that she's going to be releasing it through our vending machine, and her whole body of work is about nostalgia and kind of reordering your past to be positive, like thinking about, okay, there's a way to think healthy about my past. There's a way to have good memories, despite maybe some tough stuff that happened. And so she released a piece today that's an animated GIF file of like a far away view of a playground, and there's a swing, and there's like a glitch in the swing, like it swings and it misses and it slips, and there's a flashing light, and it's something I could have never imagined, and it instantly takes you back to the creative excitement, worlds at your fingertips feeling that you get when you're at a playground and you're a kid. And that's what's valuable. Like, it's that connection. And yeah, it's cool that, I could send this for free to you on Wax if I wanted to, if it was a multiple editions, and there's tech behind how you do that. But again, like, eventually it's going to be like, hey, big deal about the tech. No, I'm not fired up that I could send you an email. Like, it's just a
Right.
tool, you know. But that's really, let's talk about more of the art. The art's really what's incredible. The God-given creativity that people have. That's the big thing.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, we're not still talking about like how fast our internet connections are, or whether or not like we have a computer in our pocket. We're talking about like, the psychological and sociological effects of that technology on us now. Like those are like the bigger issues, and that's the same thing with NFTs. Is yeah, here we have something that can give value back to artists that have been devalued for 3 or 4 decades with digital art. Now they have a way to do it. Awesome. What have they been creating? What are they trying to say? What have they been saying for the last 20, 30 years? We're playing catch up to tell all these stories about all these amazing artists. And the technology is kind of the cold, specs of the whole thing that makes it move, that is really not that fascinating. And I've only, like I said, it's been a short time for me. I'm already disinterested in how it works. I don't care about it anymore.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%.
So art vending machine, explain how it works. I know there are 2 different packs that are in it that you can purchase, but how do you guys organize it? And what's the whole thought process behind it?
Sure. So the art vending machine, it's fine art wrapped in bundles on the blockchain. So you could basically instantly become an art collector just by buying one of our fine art packs. They're sealed, so you don't know what you're getting, but you can go to the website and see the artists that are in the collection, a sampling of the art that's going to be in there. And for the previous collection, we'll make, we made a video with all the art in it. And then when you buy a pack, kind of like when you go to the store when you're a kid, you buy Star Wars cards or wacky packages or whatever the physical packs were.
I would have gone with baseball cards. I thought that would have, like, you just you skipped right over it. I thought that was the easiest example. You went right to Star Wars and wacky packs.
I see all that as art, so I guess that's why baseball cards are very cool, and that's an art form in itself too. But you're right. But yeah, that's the simplest way. So you don't know exactly what you're getting, but there's the sense of discovery, and kind of like when you walk into a gallery and it's a show by so and so, whoever your favorite artist is, you're going there, or somebody you just saw a little postcard and, oh, this is cool, I want to see more from this person. And then you go and there's a sense of discovery. Oh, there's this, oh, there's that. In this case, the sense of discovery is not only do you just discover it, but you own it. And that's what's really exciting. Oh wow, I could sit on this, I could save it. Like Ilan, one of the other artists in here in the art vending machine, he has this focus currently on turbine, kind of cartoon looking turbine machinery, and it's the animations he's contributed so far are just really exciting, and it's just like it's like the best compliment I can give somebody is, man, I wish I made that. And every piece I see, that's what I think, man, that's so cool. I wish I would have thought of that. So it's stuff like that. And with our vending machine, back to the description of what it is we're releasing these, in this series 2, which is coming out in July 10th on Wax. You have the choice to buy a standard pack, which will have 4 NFTs in it, or you could buy a master pack, which has 8 NFTs in it. And obviously, the master pack is more in cost, but not just because there's more NFTs. It's because there's more rare cards in the master packs. Like you're guaranteed to get either the top 3 at least one of the top 3 tiers of rarity. So you're very likely to get cards that are way more rare than otherwise. But in the standard pack, which is is a cheaper. You there is a there are odds that you may get a super rare card, which the highest level we call mythic, but it's more likely you're going to get something in the middle range of rarity, and extending both ways from there. So yeah, you could become an instant collector, and it's an exciting way to discover fine art. And I that's not something that's been around for a long time. Where I mean, I've been in the art business most of my professional life, and as a kid, I started drawing when I was 5. So always had an interest, even in school, in high school, and things like that. And I'm sure there's been like art grab bags and things like this, but I think this is one of the, if not the first, one of the earliest times where you could actually digitally receive art in a that's fine art, that's randomized, and it's from a variety of international artists. And
how do you find these artists? Like, I know we talked about the connection is always relates back to you, and you've got your kids involved in it as well, and some other family members. How are you finding these other artists that aren't part of your family and living in the same house with you, probably?
Yeah, so I basically have, I've been in the community for all my adult life, and not just the NFT crypto art community, but just the art community. So, for example, in series 2, there's people that I know from a drawing collective that I'm part of called Dada.art. And so that's a platform where we draw together. And so some person draws here and then submits it, and then the next person draws here and kind of continues the scene. So there's a number of artists from Dada on this. So that's really exciting to be able to work with Ilan and Isa and Vanessa and Marco from there. So that's going to be really cool. It's just kind of continuing collaboration in a different way. And then some are artists that I've just known for a long time and have collaborated with on other things, like Rare Skrilla. He's one of the ones who's also been around in NFTs a really long time, in crypto art a really long time. He used to do a podcast called Art on the Blockchain with another talented person who's a lawyer, Cynthia Gayton. And so Rare Skrilla is going to be contributing some art, and we were both doing stuff on Counterparty in the early days. And then we've just got to, so it's basically somehow you got to know me somehow and connect to me. And there's some people that I know, people I know from volunteer work, from church, friends of friends, and things like that. And your art has to be, inspiring, positive. There's a positive message behind it. And some of the folks in it, they know about blockchain enough to do it on their own, and some of them don't. And so they just work through the packs. And some of them didn't know about how to access and release stuff on their own, but then we mentor and we show them, and then they could do it on their own too if they want. And they always could, but now we kind of help people through that process.
Yeah. Do you see it like opening it up to beyond people that know you? Like, do you see yourself opening it up to like, just independent artists in general looking to get their foot in the door? And I'm not putting pressure on you to do this, but I do know a lot of artists that also like are looking for like that break, and it's something that I think that we like want to do at Cryptowriter is like give them that, not like instant access to money and things like that, but rather than just floating around in the proverbial ether on the internet, once you post something and then just hope someone else finds it on Twitter or Instagram or something. Do you see yourself like going that route, or are you trying to keep it small before you open it up to everyone else?
Right now, we're scaling up as we can. So there are more people in there that I don't know personally in the collection. So, like for example, the project is done in collaboration with Uplift.art, and so two of the people in there are there's an uplifter who says, hey, you know what, my father-in-law, who knows nothing about any of this stuff, he's been a painter all his life, and and what do you think? Can I show you his work? And so I look at his work, and I basically don't scrutinize much. Just like, is the work good? Is it a positive message? Is he serious about this stuff? And if the answer is yes, then he's in. And so I basically do that with as many individuals that I could manage to create a good collection. Right now, kind of the number that's working for us is between 15 to 20 artists per collection. So the first round, series one, I think had 15 artists in it. This series is going to have 20. So I'm scaling up slowly but manageably. And as we figure out ways to handle more, then that's certainly a possibility. But I'm not ready to pull the trigger on that right now. Because what I don't want is to be like just a flood of, oh, get in here, and then it's the same problem where the existing people get lost who are still emerging. And so we want to make sure, we can help support the folks who are already in it, and not give new people a false hope. Hey, just come with our vending machine and you're going to sell out in 26 seconds like we did the first time. Which is cool, but we want to make sure we're just helping raise everybody at the same time as much as we can.
Yeah. I think that is probably the best way to do it, because like what I was talking about before, with now things are cooling off and it's a little harder to sell pieces for, $3,000, where back in March they were gone in 30 minutes. Nifty Gateway is, putting out a drop every single day. And that's one of the issues that I've been seeing lately, is that it is just flooding everything, and you can't even no one has a second to breathe or digest as to like what they're actually purchasing right now. And artists aren't given the chance to, like you said, develop. And someone that might have done a drop with them a week prior is already forgotten about. And it's the sustainability that I think is more important. And also just that you've called it a tribe. Other artists that I've talked to call it communities. There's a bunch of different phrases we can use to it, but that's really what I think is the thing that's going to last and help these artists like get their footing. And I think you would know that better than anyone, because like you're involved with hundreds of different projects. It seems like you're connected to everyone that I talk to at this point.
Well, there's a really incredible mentor, and he's a preacher. And one of the things that he said multiple times is, if you try to help everyone, you end up helping no one. And I've seen that true. My wife and I, we do ministry work for the church. We do shepherding and things like that. And it's true. If I try to reach everybody, I can't have that deep conversation that this one person needs. So in the same way in the arts, I try to be more hands-on with the people that are in the project. And there's only a certain amount that you can handle without being overwhelmed and, you're dropping balls left and right. And so this is something that it's important to understand, I think. And basically anybody who is a leader in this space should, and many are, but I think more can lead things that do help those who have, like, there's people who have been in the space early but haven't sold a lot, and does that mean they're not successful? Does that mean their art's not good? Not necessarily. It really just means that they haven't found the buyers. And then there's another perception that like now the space is getting flooded. So here's a little secret that's not really a secret. Like the art market, it's always been flooded. It's always been flooded. You've got schools cranking out people with art degrees in having to spend the same amount, even in COVID, where there's no career that has income associated with it that really exists for them. And that hasn't changed at all, even though it's known that a really tiny percent of people who graduate with an art degree actually get a job in that field. So the other thing to understand is that art, like everybody has a God-given creative ability, whether it is to write, to build, to do fine art. So basically, in a sense, we do all have some creative capacity. And so to try to think that, the super famous artist is like more special than somebody else, that's not really the case. So, and that's one of the reasons why we're selling the packs for nowhere near what you would get them for if you were buying the stuff individually, because we want to help people have access to this stuff and realize that they can collect it. Art is for everybody, and they can even do it too. So there's some people there they're just like they literally took art seriously once they joined the collection. Once they joined, had start collecting or started being involved in the project. So it is for everybody, and we just want to make that more visible.
Do you have? I'm stuck on the flooding the market comment, and it always being flooded. And like, I mean, I guess that's kind of your inspiration for doing this project in a sense, because we are constantly churning out artists, encouraging people with these gifts to go out and make stuff. However, the market and a steady, reliable 9-to-5 job in that field doesn't exist. Are NFTs fixing that problem completely? Are they just filling in like a gap in a much larger hole that is a problem? Like, do you see NFTs possibly shifting where we value art even? Or is that too much pressure for blockchain technology in general?
Oh, I do. The cool thing about the space is the whole blockchain where you could put art linked to a token on the blockchain. The cool thing about this, because the art's not actually on the blockchain, it's just linked to the blockchain. But the really, really exciting thing about it is that it is now whereas before, like the elite and kind of the like emerging elite would collect art, and everybody else would just buy comic books or postcards and whatever, and now that baseline of entry to be a collector is dropped. Now the mainstream art world hates that. They don't like that. But the reality is, I can't speak for the mainstream art, but there's many in the mainstream that are trying to still create this concept that there's only a few superstars and everybody needs to bow down to them, and because everybody else isn't good. And I mean, I've seen good stuff from a little kid. I've seen good stuff from somebody that's their first drawing. And so all that stuff can have its day. It's 15 minutes of fame or whatever you want to call it. And it can have good exposure and people can appreciate it. And so it's really finding solutions to help get this stuff curated if the people don't want to put it out themselves. and just helping, just helping be a voice for people, just kind of lifting up everybody.
What are your thoughts on like platforms like Super Rare and even Maker's Place has a curation process? What are your thoughts on that like gatekeeping mentality? Because that kind of it's the same formula that mainstream art uh, uses, where they curate and they say like yes to this, no to that, and you have to go somewhere else and hope you artists keep have to selling themselves. Is that and I'm asking this because I really am curious. And you do have, great insight to this, but like, I know it's a necessary evil in some cases, but also it's also holding us back and almost like too much information is coming at us at once. So I don't know how to fix that. And I think this is where what you're working on with the invisible economy is going. But really, like, whatever your thoughts are on it, I'm hoping you have answers.
Wow. Well, I want to go off on 3 different strains of your question.
I know. My questions are never straightforward. They're always tangential and have 5 thoughts built in.
Okay, so Super Rare and Maker's Place. I love them. They are great. I'm one of the first people on those platforms too, and I've sold some really exciting work there, and it keeps reselling, and they're great platforms. And the reality is they're needed because they built the marketplace for at least on the Ethereum chain. They where there was nothing practically. There was some other project before them, but they built a marketplace where you can do your own art doesn't have to be on a theme, and it's each art doesn't have to be approved. But it's just once you're approved that you're a legitimate artist and you're serious and you're not just going to take pictures of South Park and put it on there and say that this is your NFTs. Because that human element is needed to make sure that you're not tokenizing stuff that will get the whole platform in trouble, and get it sued and stuff like that. Because, there's still, as much as people try to, pretend it doesn't exist, there's still laws, copyright, intellectual property, and tokenizing stuff that you didn't create is a very risky, unadvisable business that is mostly against, I'm sure it's against the terms of service of most of these platforms. So that kind of thing is still needed, and I appreciate what they do. And I know that they work hard to expand their bandwidth too, so that nobody falls through the cracks. But when they're at a scale now where they not a lot of, like, they're the pioneers. So there's going to be stuff that'll work well and stuff that they got to retweak. And I think people need to understand that going into these platforms. Now, talk about Dada. Yeah. That's incredibly cool. And you could literally spend hours and hours. Basically, all our meetings, the Dada art meetings, like, they put them online. So I think most of them, they put online. And it's basically, for those who don't know, and like I said, I think 4 or 5 of us from Dada are in our Art Vending Machine Series 2. And these are like, hardcore, roll up your sleeves, I live, breathe, sleep art. And I do some other stuff too. Like, just great people.
Just using the name Dada, like, gives you that hardcore artist mentality, because I'm not an artist, I'm an English teacher, and I even know what Dada is because there was a literary movement along with it when it initially started as well too. So when I looked it up and found that I couldn't buy anything, I was like, why can't I buy anything? This is exactly what I know for a fact. This is good art because these people would have to have studied art, know what the Dada movement was in the first place. Like, just that name in general is like, oh yes, this is upper echelon style art.
Well, so here's the problem, and here's what the Dada group is fixing. Okay, so the problem is, because I'm in the market, it's very often when I draw and I'm like, I know I'm near done, I start to think something as an artist like, okay, is there anything I should do to this piece to make it sell for sure? You know, like that's just what I'm thinking. Now, whether I follow up on that thought is one thing or another. So what, and that actually influences how the art turns out. And there's been times where I've just been on Dada, not thinking about sales at all, because it's the drawing platform is such that you draw there, and then the next person can, kind of like a jazz piece, you start the solo and then somebody joins in, and you just keep going with that. It's a great platform. And with Dada, some really incredible pieces have been created and still are by this community, because we're not focused on how will this be perceived by the market. We frankly don't care. And we're not like faking it. Like, we really, I have 400 drawings. Many people have way more than that. I'm Dada, and I don't care what the market thinks about it. I'm just there to draw. And this is why I got into it in the first place. I'm sitting in my basement, sitting in my grandparents' house, and they had a little old school desk with the inkwell, and I'm sitting there, and I'm just drawing for the love of it. And so that's really the beauty of it. And now they are creating marketplace solutions, but they're invisible to the drawing platform. So, for example, they'll take some of the work there, put them in a collection, and then put them on the Ethereum blockchain. And they're going to be doing this with some of the other things that we've done there too. Like, we had a live drawing event at the Tate in London, and some of us were, did it remotely, and some of them were there in person, and all those drawings make one narrative, and they'll be released in a collection, and and you could buy it as an NFT. So we're creating solutions so that if you're an artist, you can connect to the economics of things, but you can also just be an artist, and you could flip the switch very easily based on where you go that day on the internet. And that's what's really cool. And there's more to it, but I'm just simplifying
it. No, it's always okay to simplify it, which I don't know how you do, because it seems like everything you do is connected to something else. You've got Dada art, you've got your art vending machine, but also you've got uplift art interwoven with all of it on top of it. I don't know how you find time for all of it.
Well, it's all one. Like, it really is. Like, I know there's kind of borders between the projects, but in my mind there's not. It's all one continuity. And now you gotta understand, I'm a cartoonist by trade. I started out making comics and graphic novels. So these would be, issues in my Silly Daddy comics that I, put out over the years. Issue 1 and then issue 2, and you get up to issue 21, and now you've got this epic graphic novel that you put out. So in the same way, for the fine artist that's issuing paintings and things that don't seem to be connected, if you string them all together, like, they really tell a story. And that's what I love about this industry, that they're telling stories with this, but there's often not as many word balloons in there. And maybe you read the description to kind of figure out the narrative, or maybe you don't have to. And that's what I like about this. It's exciting.
I've talked to a lot of artists about this too. Is there, I guess it goes back to the flooding the market with art. Is there Also, a flooding effect of marketplaces, too, because I don't think this is a unique experience, but there's always another wallet I have to download, another marketplace I have to learn. And it seems like every blockchain is starting to try and create their own marketplace for this stuff. Is that a good thing?
Yeah, yeah, and that's going to be with anything that's emerging technology, and it's one of those things where once you do it, you can pat yourself on the back. So it's that's your badge that now you're in the club. You figured out how to do MetaMask. Cool, you're in. In the early days, it wasn't as easy, but I really like with Wax. They know that that's an issue, and they've made it very easy to collect with just a cloud wallet. All you need is an email address and a password. So they've made it easy to do this, and that's and even easy to release NFTs. So it's only going to get easier, and I know a number of people in the project. Elon, my oldest daughter Maria, Marco, and I'm sure many others do also release some stuff on Tezos, the hen site, and yeah, the word on the street about them is it's very easy to release once you get the wallet and you get a little Tezos. Uh, frankly I prefer Wax because you don't need a little wax and you don't need a little wallet. You just need the internet and some art that you made. So, but people are like as we talked about earlier. There's affinities for different chains, and it's kind of like Microsoft, Google, Facebook. Which one do you think is better? Who's going to win? And they might all win. And, you know, it, there's room. There are room for different blockchains. I don't think all of them are going to survive, but there's room for, there's certainly room for a number of them because it's a competitive market.
And I always like talking to people that are, I mean, you're only a few years older than me, but you have much more experience than I do in this space. Like I always like talking to people that have been around for like 5 or 6 years, like in your case, and that have, because I still think things are a bit clunky, but I can't imagine what it was like even 2 years ago, like, because, and I hadn't even considered the idea that some of these websites might not be around in a year or two until Sparrow, who we both know because she's also with the Data project.
Yeah, she's
She
awesome.
said, um, and she's brilliant. And, within 30 seconds of talking to her, I knew instantly I was outmatched intellectually. And I was like, okay. I was like, okay, just tell me where I'm wrong and teach me whatever you know. I'll listen. But she was the one that pointed out that some of them might not be around in a year. And I hadn't even considered that as a problem for some of these projects.
Yeah, I've already seen many projects come and go, and they put out a notice that said, you know, get you know, get all your art off here and move it to some other thing. And yeah, I've seen that already. And that is part of life. And I mean, even these blockchains do not come with any guarantee. You read the terms, and there's no guarantee of anything. There's that's the nature of the business.
Yeah, but what I have noticed that is common with people that have been around for a few years, um, you, Sparrow, Angie Taylor, like you guys all seem to have still optimism about all of it, but you also know when to smell or sense that something is all right. This might not survive like 6 months or a year or two. You guys all still seem very hopeful, despite that you've also seen projects just poof and die, which I
Oh
think
yeah.
is
Well, here let's say something that's absolutely bad for business. All right, but just let's suppose Bitcoin goes down, Ethereum goes down, EOS goes down, Wax goes down. Obviously, many people would be devastated and sad, and angry, and whatever. I guarantee you, I would bet lots of money that the very next day somebody's going to recreate this, but even better, and using similar technology, but they will have learned. I mean, that's what happened with Wax. They learned, you had Bitcoin, then Ethereum took the best of Bitcoin, but made it programmable. Then you had EOS. We both know EOS took the best of Ethereum, but added the beauty of Steam concept, the fast transactions, less of a network, validators, but still enough to make it distributed enough. And then you had Wax, and they took the best. They learned. So it's just going to happen again, and that's the nature of innovation, and it is a cycle, and that's okay. But and this is why people need to understand what's going to endure is the art. That's what's really people, because that's where the real story is. A human being created this art, or this group of people created this. There's only so much time we could spend talking about Satoshi and Vitalik, and okay, yeah, that's cool, and they deserve their movies and all, if you figure out who they are. But this is real people that you could connect with, that have a continuity of their work, and that's the art world. It's learning who these people are, why they do what they do. And that's the story.
Yeah, and that accessibility, I think, is what is hopefully going to keep everything moving, because I don't know that I have any business in this space. I can converse with you and true artists about this stuff, because literature and art go hand in hand, and there are enough crossover between the two where I can relate to all of you.
Oh yeah.
But as someone that is brand new to the space, like, I'm talking to people like you, Sparrow, and all I'm doing is sending an email, and you guys are renowned, and I don't want to say that there's a hierarchy, but you guys do have the knowledge and credibility in this space that is strange for someone that's just coming in to have no barrier between. You and I just met last week, and all you did was email me, and all I did was email you back. And that's, I think, a cool thing. It's the communities, it's the tribes, it's the fact that I'm sure there are still egos in this space, and I just haven't bumped into one yet. Or maybe I'm the ego in this space, and I'm just blind to it. But it's cool that there is no what is it? Pretension. That's it. There's no pretension about it all, which is really cool. And I think that could be what mainstream art world possibly hates about all this.
I think you're right. I think the people on Dada, and the people that I've attracted to Art Vending Machine, and the people that are attracted to Art Vending Machine, I don't even think they know what the word pretension means. All right, not because they have a limited vocabulary, because they just don't operate in those circles. And that's what's really cool about Sparrow and all the people on Dada, all the people in the project. They don't think that people are people, and everybody needs love, everybody needs attention, and we all want respect, and just because I've been around longer doesn't mean I'm any better. And that's really what I've come to understand about life. And my youngest daughter, who's 15, she's in the project. Is she 15 or 14? I should probably know. She's 15. But I mean, some of her work is way better than some of my work, and I think that's great. And I don't feel threatened or anything like that. I think once you stop trying to compete and just realize that we can actually be on the largest level in industry, on the smaller level of community, and on the really tight level of family, once you realize that, you'll work with anybody, you know? And that's really, I think, how it should be, as long as people are on the up and up.
I'd like to thank my guest for taking the time to speak with me. And if you liked what you heard, like, subscribe, and share it. Thanks for listening.